Welcome back aboard Arabella. This week, Steve makes a final decision on the boat's most controversial addition, and then gets back to work on the repairs for the tow rail.
I don't think you can tell from here in the video, but the harbor froze a little bit last night. No, it's not a lot of ice, nowhere near enough to be worried about. But it is getting chilly. Akiva doesn't mind the cold. Not at all. So real early this morning, Robin and I were asleep, and all of a sudden the boat started rocking, and it sounded a lot like big wind in the rig. And we were like, what the heck? Judging by the rocking and the noise, I was expecting to stick my head out the hatch and have 20 knot winds, and I stuck my head out the hatch and there was no wind. And the noise we were hearing, can't tell if you can tell here, but there's a path that was carved through this little bit of ice. And it was a fishing boat leaving this morning real early. And the fishing boat caused the waves that Robin and I were feeling rock Arabella. And the ice bumping up against the hull was the noise that we heard that sounded like the wind in the rigging. So this is Arabella's first time with ice. It's her introduction. And I have a feeling there's a little more to come in her future. Hi. Let's see if we can show you. Not much. Some of you are about to feel so vindicated. The amount of I told you so's that I'm gonna get from this are flippin' staggering. But I've decided that the wood stove is gonna come out. If you can't tell by everything that's been stowed around it for a while, we haven't been using it. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Really, the main reason comes down to that the diesel heater just works so well. With the 3-gallon tank and the gravity feed, it's just been great. It keeps the boat nice and warm. It's a nice dry heat. And it doesn't really require much tending. We got to keep an eye on it, make sure that the fuel-air ratio is right, and that changes as temperatures change and winds change and stuff, but it needs way less tending than the wood stove. And obviously diesel's fairly easy to carry. So the diesel heater is performing better than I ever really kind of hoped or thought that it would. So it's just making the wood stove kind of pretty redundant. By removing the wood stove, it's going to open up some very usable storage, which people have pointed out. And when I designed Arabella and laid things out, I wasn't thinking of Robin when it came to accessing food and that kind of thing, because I hadn't met Robin yet. So for me, it's not too difficult to reach back and grab the food bins, but for Robin, that is a lot more challenging. The thing that I'm most excited about with taking the wood stove out is the stovepipe and the hole that is in the housetop. And I'm going to install a bilge blower in this ducting, and that is going to give us an exhaust fan for the galley. That, I think, is going to be a huge increase in our quality of life, as silly as that sounds. It's a small space, and if you cook anything that gets even remotely smoky, the boat fills up pretty quick, and smoke alarms go off, which Akiva hates, and that's just not fun. And when you make something that you have to boil for a while, it puts a lot of condensation into the boat, which in the summer isn't really a big deal, but with the boat closed up in the winter, that extra moisture is really not wanted. So by having an exhaust fan, we're going to be able to send most of that out and not set off the smoke detectors and not put all that moisture into the air, and that will be really, really nice. All right, taking as much weight out of it as I can.
After taking a few days with both of their families for Christmas, they were back in Granby, where it all began, to drop off the shipmate stove and other things that weren't needed on the boat for the rest of the winter.
Let's get unloaded. We've got a very short time here before we need to turn around and get back to Boston to take Mom to her appointments. Anybody need a wood stove? I turned on the lights in here, but Grandpa shut off the power to the garage, and I don't have keys to the house anymore, so in the dark we are. All right, here's the cord that I need to hook up the shore power. So I have to get different plugs for the end, and this will go from the shore power on the dock to the shore power on Arabella. And I need this 2-strand 10-gauge wire to wire up between the shore power plug and the isolation transformer and the battery bank. So I'm going to bring that with us. I'm going to grab one of the shelves that was in Victoria because we could use some more little organization spaces. So Robin and I have talked about hanging a couple little shelves to put small things on and have things be a little less cluttered. So we'll grab that. And the mushroom vents. One of these is going to replace the wood stove vent, and we'll hook the exhaust for the galley into that. And then I think the other one's going to get mounted in the aft hatch because we've been having some pretty bad condensation issues in that hatch, and I'd like to get more airflow to the stern of the boat. So I think house top, aft hatch. All right, let's get that stuff loaded up and get out of here. I gotta get all my stuff out of here soon. The roof back here is leaking pretty bad. We gotta get this figured out. This was all stuff I was hoping to pretty much have gotten to by now, but life is not allowing it. Alright, I just gotta go grab those bins of sails. There's 2 bins. I don't want to unfold the sails here in the wet and the mud and everything. I think I'd rather just bring the bins down and lay them out and see what we use and then toss or bring back what we don't. Okay.
Steve plans to use Victoria's old sails to make the sail covers, so be sure to check in next week for progress on that front.
You know what I do need? I do need a few pine bungs.
Steve paused work to the tow rail last week because he realized it would be easier to find and mill up stock while he was in Granby for a few days. Even easier, he called up David, who had the white oak pieces ready for him before they took off back to the boat, where Steve got right back to where he left off with the tow rail repair.
All right, so still a good bit of material to remove. And you got to make a little nib here, but it gets it's a good chunk of it gone. I'm putting in a nibbed scarf here. If I were to just run this out to a feather edge, you'd see kind of a smear of glue, and I don't really want to do that. So by putting a tiny little nib, when I fit this on, you'll just see a little vertical glue line, and it'll be a lot less noticeable. But because of the nib, I can't cut with the saw back to the base of the nib. I'd be cutting the nib off. So I have to cut a little wide of it, and I found that the angle grinder with that tungsten tip chews this up pretty good, and I can work this kind of off with the chisel because I can't quite get in there with the tool. And just keep working that back, checking it with a straight edge until I have a flat scarf. You want to try your hand?
Yeah.
All right. So
All right.
this is a Japanese pole saw.
Okay.
So you don't need to worry about pushing it like into the wood when you go up, but you do want to just push it in a little bit on the way down.
Okay.
Not much, just a little bit of pressure. And then the real big one is making sure that you're going up and down in a straight plane and that you're not twisting the blade at all.
Gotcha.
Or bending it.
Okay.
And you can tell, one, by watching the blade, but two, the sound that it makes.
Yeah.
You'll start getting different noises if you're out of line. You can do one hand or two. And up you go.
Okay.
Try to use the full blade. So, I mean, go right up until the handle hits.
Okay.
And come down until
I'm
the
going to
tip
have
just
you
kinda
watch
disappears.
me diligently for a moment. All right. See, I think when I do the two hands, I'm bending it too much.
Much, yeah.
Is that okay where I'm starting to come out there?
Yep.
Okay.
Just don't drop that piece of wood when it comes off.
Okay. I think I'm still a little ways away, right? Maybe not. Kind of getting there. Got myself.
Cut yourself?
Oh, yeah. I was, yeah. All right. Be extra careful this time. All right. I did it.
All right. Do we need to go get you a Band-Aid?
Yeah. It's not that bad. I mean, oh, it's a gaping wound.
It's a gaping wound. Go to the hospital.
That's fine. It's not a good day till one of us is bleeding anyway.
I don't like that rule.
Akiva.
These are a lot easier to rough out when they're square and you can cut them with the circular saw. I need it to warm up before we can glue these. If you can't tell by the way I'm currently dressed, it is a bit too chilly to do epoxy work out here. And I really don't want to try to tent the side of the boat. And since we are in Cape Cod and winters aren't what winters used to be, we have warmer days in the forecast. So I could final fit these, but I'm not going to because the glue really wants freshly worked wood to adhere to. So these are really close. It's not going to take me long to close these up and get these to fit really nicely. So we will hit pause here, and when we have a day where we're in at least the high 40s to low 50s, I can fit these in the morning while it's still too cold to glue, and then slap the glue on there and glue them up. But if nothing else, this looks a lot nicer than the jagged broken tow rails we have. I was talking with Ben the other day, and he referred to this as Arabella's broken tooth, and everyone's going to comment on it until it's fixed, and that's been the case. But we're a little closer and closer. We just need a little warmer day to glue. Do you need to go for a walk? Akiva, is that it? Is that what all this whining and pacing about? Okay, come on. There's a seal right over there.
Oh, yeah.
So how's the internet been on the boat for you so far?
It's been a challenge. I think that was one of the first challenges that really kind of shook up my world, because my business is completely dependent on Wi-Fi. So when we first launched, well, actually even before we launched, when we were in Mattapoisett, I had like horrible cell service and could tether barely off my cell phone. I've been able to make do tethering off the cell phone, but it's not ideal. We're on the Cape, we're on a harbor, so cell service is intermittent at best. Right now we have Wi-Fi through the marina, which is great, except for it also is pretty intermittent. I don't know if that's just because it's Cape Cod and service hasn't been expanded the way it has in more populated areas. I don't really know why, but I got bounced off a Zoom meeting with a client 3 times today in 1 hour. That can't happen. That's super unprofessional. So yeah, I think we need to have a solution I think it's time to finally install that beautiful Starlink dish that we bought 9 months ago.
All right. Let's go see if we can find a spot for we don't need a spot at the moment for it. We can just kind of move it around and play with it.
Yeah, I think we're going to have
find a permanent home for it.
I think we're going to have to figure that out. But for now, if we can get it set up on the dock, and then you can upload footage without worrying about finding a library with a decent enough connection. I mean, there's been days where you've been to like 3 libraries trying to find a fast enough connection, and then you're like, oh cool, it's saying it's going to take 11 hours for the footage to upload. And you've even considered hiding your laptop open in a bush overnight. And let's not do that.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Starlink can upload the video footage or not. That still might be pushing it, but we'll find out.
We'll put it to the test. All right, espresso, Starlink.
Now this is set up to run off 110, which we can do, but it's got to run off the inverter. So here's our 110 plug. And there is a 12-volt conversion kit, so we'll have to get that. But for now, we have shore power, so that's not a big deal. We can just plug in. The 110's not a problem. All right, what do you think, boss?
I think it's a beautiful night. Sorry, easily distracted. I'm assuming these have to go in the boat. Assume they're not weatherproof.
Yeah, it looks like this cable is
Okay.
what we can route out. So we can route it out through that doorway that the electric
Okay,
is
perfect.
going in on.
So that works.
I got it. All right, we are up and through.
All right.
Why don't you just pretty much give it all to me?
Yep. I'm just going to leave enough to run kind of like by where... Oh, there's still so much cord.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. We got tangles. All right. There we go.
So the dish is plugged in.
All right. It says it just takes a couple of minutes for it to connect to satellite.
Okay. Tie the tiller off here so we don't smash it.
All right. Enter Wi-Fi network name and password. Create a network. I'm just saying. We're connected and it's super fast. I'm so thrilled right now.
I'm
like
super happy.
I just clicked in. Like usually it's like the software that I use for project management. The internet's been so bad. Every time I click into a project, it takes like a couple seconds for it to like load all of the tasks and projects. It's just like bang, 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 bang. Every single one. Loaded, loaded, loaded. My productivity is gonna soar.
Make sure you come back again next week to see what Steve plans to do to make covers out of Victoria's old sails. You can give us a big boost just by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Join our Patreon community and get access to monthly live streams and more. Details in the description. Our merchandise sale is entering its final week, so make sure you head to the shop on our website to get a piece of what's left before it's all gone.
What do you think, Akiva?